The first excellent World War II RTS game is finally here. Relic Entertainment, the same people who brought us Homeworld and Dawn of War, come out with a really fast-paced action RTS set in World War II that just blows everything that's come before out of the water and is going to set the bar really high for anybody that's trying to bring a World War II game out after this. The basic principle behind the game will be familiar to anybody that's played Warhammer 40,000 Dawn of War. It's based around resource points and strategic points that you have to send units out to capture. These points then give you resources in order to buy new units and send more units out to battle the enemy and eventually take over the entire map. The interesting thing about the way Company of Heroes handles these resources is that there's actually 3 resources, and these points actually have different values associated with them. So strategically, you're going to want to go out and capture high resource points first. But in order to get these resources back to your base, you actually have to have territories that are connected all the way up to that resource point. That means in order to cut off the supply lines of an enemy, you can actually just go past their front line and take out one of their points, and then they're not going to get any more resources. Both the Axis and the Allies have a lot of different units that they're going to bring out onto the field. They've got basic infantry, they've got engineers, they've got half-tracks and huge armor and special armor like the Calliope rocket tank or the Tiger tank that comes out that just has a lot more power than any other tank on the battlefield. All of these units can also be upgraded with special abilities and or special weapons. For instance, a half-track can be upgraded with a quad gun that just mows down infantry, while infantry might be able to be upgraded with a bar machine gun. Players will also be able to customize their armies more with the addition of the command tree. Both the Axis and the Allies have 3 different command trees to go down. You can assign different points to each of the different abilities inside these command trees that give special powers like artillery strikes or calling in off-map units like tanks and infantry. All of this is put together in a completely destructible environment. That means the map is going to change absolutely drastically by the end of the game. Whether it's in a single-player campaign mission or a multiplayer map, everything can be wiped out. That means walls, buildings, hedgerows, whatever you can see can be destroyed. What this does is open up new strategic options like new cover and new choke points. So players are really going to have to think about what they destroy before they destroy it. The game comes with both a single-player campaign and a multiplayer and skirmish modes. The campaign follows Able Company and Fox Company paratroopers from the storming of Normandy to the defeat of the 7th Army. The entire campaign is presented with great briefings and amazing cutscenes using the in-game engine. Campaign missions themselves mostly stay away from the tired idea of finding a base and destroying it. These missions are structured like they might be in real life, such as capturing a road and protecting it, capturing a town and holding it from a German counterattack, or cutting off the path of retreat of the German army so it can't escape and reinforce later into the war. All of these missions are incredibly exciting and introduce players into some of the more complex gameplay mechanics over time in order to get you up to the point where you really can play skirmish and multiplayer effectively. Multiplayer and skirmish take ideas that Relic has thought up before with Dawn of War and makes them even more exciting. Those extra resource points really create new opportunities for strategic decisions. And the best mode in multiplayer also takes advantage of new points called victory points. These act a lot like victory points do in Battlefield 1942, where once a player captures this, tickets start ticking down on the other team's side. All of the skirmish and multiplayer maps are designed with all of these victory points and strategic points in mind. One of the interesting things about Company of Heroes multiplayer and skirmish modes is that actually capturing these points and then holding them can be pretty difficult. The reason for this is because it's actually hard to set up successful static defenses. Instead, defensively minded players will have to go for more mobile options. This includes weapons like anti-tank guns and 50 caliber machine guns. These defensive options actually take some time to set up and take down and move, but once they're set up, they're incredibly powerful. The only thing is these weapons have an arc of fire and a range of fire, so if an enemy manages to flank these groups, they're actually going to get killed pretty easily. The focus on all of these strategic points, resource points, and victory points really pushes the action out into the field. People aren't going to be able to sit back in their base and just gather resources to gather a huge force and push out into the field eventually. This is really a fast-paced multiplayer game and can be absolutely frantic, and definitely involves some bit of micromanagement with all of the special weapons that need to be employed during the game. Players can choose to use either the Axis or the Allies on teams. There's no free-for-all here, so those looking for that kind of experience will need to look elsewhere. In skirmish mode, AI can be very good. It's very tough to battle against. It should definitely present a challenge even to veteran strategy gamers. Some of that comes with micromanagement, so successful players will really need to get good with hotkeys. My only real problem with the game comes from vehicle AI. While their target recognition is good, their pathfinding doesn't necessarily always turn out the way you would hope. Giving two vehicles in order to go to one place at the same time will actually cause them to run into each other and get stuck. While you can get around this by ordering them individually, it definitely would be nice to be able to tell a group of tanks to move forward and have them move forward in a line instead of trying to go to the same spot. Visually, Company of Heroes is absolutely excellent. There's amazing detail in all the units and buildings, including flaps of bunkers that go flying up when a 50 caliber machine gun starts firing. The completely destructible environment is absolutely awesome. Landscapes are changed by the end. The effects that make that happen are absolutely brilliant. One very important piece of that puzzle that was given tremendous attention was actually the sound. You don't often hear that sound is one of the best features in an RTS game, but Relic has really put a lot of time into this and made it absolutely fantastic. Company of Heroes is definitely a game you're going to want to pick up if you're a strategy fan that likes fast action. This is definitely one of the best RTSs I've played in a long time. Even if you're not a fan of the World War II setting, this is definitely a game you're going to want to look into.